You know, somebody asked me the other day, Steve, what keeps you going when everything around you tells you to quit? I said, man, I got two things that don't ever change, my grind and my God. See, let me tell y'all something today. Never give up, because God never fails. Life has a way of throwing things at us when we least expect it. You're walking along, doing the best you can, trying to stay positive, and then out of nowhere, life hits you with something that shakes your foundation. Maybe it's the loss of a job, a relationship falling apart, a dream that feels like it's slipping away. And in those moments, it's easy to believe that maybe, just maybe, this is the end of the road. But let me tell you something right now. Your current struggle is not the end. It might feel like the end. It might look like there's no way out. But that's just how it feels, not how it actually is. God didn't bring you this far just to leave you standing in the middle of your storm. He didn't start a good work in you just to abandon it halfway through. Now, that's not how he operates. The pain you're going through right now, it's not punishment, it's preparation. See, what we forget sometimes is that growth rarely feels good while it's happening. Just like muscles don't grow without being stretched and strained, your spirit doesn't grow without resistance. The hard times, the confusion, the waiting, the silence from heaven, it's not there to break you. It's there to build you. Think about this. Every single person who's done something great, who's lived a life that meant something, has had to fight through moments that look like defeat. Steve Harvey himself will tell you he was homeless for years, sleeping in his car, washing up in gas station bathrooms. People told him to give up. Some even laughed at his dream. But he kept the faith. He knew that what he was going through wasn't where his story ended. It was just a chapter. And God was the author. And that's the same truth for you. This chapter you're in, it might be the darkest one yet. You might be surrounded by confusion, fear, loneliness. But let me remind you, chapters change. Seasons shift. God doesn't leave you stuck. He uses every bit of what you're going through to strengthen you, teach you, and shape you for what's next. You've got to stop measuring your future by what you see right now. What you see is limited, but God sees the whole picture. He sees the next opportunity, the open door, the unexpected breakthrough, the person you're going to help one day because you didn't quit in your storm. That's why it's so important to hold on even when you're tired, even when nothing's changing, because something is changing, you just can't see it yet. The roots are growing underground. The foundation is being laid. God's setting things up behind the scenes. And all he needs from you is to not give up. So don't mistake this moment for the end. It's not. You're still breathing. You're still here. That means your purpose is still alive. Your dream still matters. Your story is still unfolding. This isn't your breakdown, it's your setup. You just have to keep walking, even if it's slow, even if you're crying, even if nobody else understands. Keep moving forward in faith, because one day you'll look back on this exact moment and say, that's when God was building me. That's when he was preparing me for what I prayed for. And that, my friend, is why your current struggle, it's not your end, it's your beginning. Keep going. God's not finished yet. We live in a world that runs on speed, fast food, fast internet, fast results. Everybody wants things now, and when something doesn't happen on our schedule, we start to panic. We start to doubt. We start asking questions like, God, where are you? Why is this taking so long? But here's what we need to understand deep down in our hearts. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't match our expectation. There's a reason they say he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. That's not just a saying, it's truth. See, we're looking at life through a narrow lens. We only see what's in front of us. We're focused on the bills due next week, the relationship that's falling apart, the door that won't open. But God, He sees the whole picture. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end. He sees the people who need to come into your life first. He sees the places you need to grow stronger before you can carry the blessing. He knows that giving you what you want too soon could actually hurt you more than help you. You might think you're ready for what you've been praying for, but God knows the full weight of that thing. And if He's making you wait, it's because He loves you too much to let you walk into something unprepared. Delay is not denial. Just because it's taken time doesn't mean God said no. Sometimes it's just not yet. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been glad later that something didn't happen when you thought it should? That job you cried over not getting, only to find out the company went under? That person you thought was the one who ended up being nothing like what you truly needed? That's not coincidence. That's God protecting you, redirecting you, and setting you up for something better than you imagined. But the waiting, man, that's the hard part. That space between the prayer and the answer, that silent season where it feels like God's not talking. That's when the enemy loves to creep in and whisper lies, telling you it's too late, that it's never going to happen, that you're not good enough. But don't fall for it. God hasn't forgotten you. He's working behind the scenes. Think of it like this. When you put a cake in the oven, you don't yank it out every 5 minutes just because you're impatient. If you do, it won't rise. It won't be ready. That heat, it's necessary. That time, it's required. And your life is no different. That season you're in, where it feels uncomfortable, slow, uncertain, that's your oven. God is letting things rise inside of you. Faith, patience, strength, character, so that when He brings you into your blessing, you're ready to receive it and keep it. The truth is, anything built too fast doesn't last. Fast success fades, but what God builds in His time, it's solid, it's unshakable, it's blessed beyond measure. So don't let the timeline stress you out. Just because you're not where you thought you'd be by now doesn't mean you're behind. You're right where you're supposed to be. The delay isn't a punishment. It's a divine setup. Trust that what's meant for you won't miss you. Trust that God's promises don't expire. If He said it, He'll do it. But He'll do it when the time is right, not when you're ready, but when He knows it's best. So while you wait, don't just sit around frustrated. Praise Him anyway. Prepare yourself. Stay in position, because when God moves, He moves suddenly, and all those years of waiting can shift in a single moment of favor. And when that moment comes, you understand why it took so long, and you'll thank Him for every second He made you wait. Pain has a purpose. It doesn't always feel like it in the moment. In fact, most of the time, pain feels pointless. It feels like punishment. It feels like a dead end. But let me tell you something that'll change your perspective. God never wastes pain. Every tear you've cried, every night you couldn't sleep, every time you wondered why me, none of it has been in vain. Because what broke you down is the same thing God will use to build you up. And not just for your sake, but so you can turn around and help somebody else. You see, people relate more to your scars than they do to your success. Your pain is what makes your story real. It's what makes your testimony powerful. Nobody's inspired by someone who's never been through anything. They want to hear from people who've been to hell and back and can still say, God brought me through. That's where the power is. Not in pretending everything's perfect, but in being honest about where you've been and how God met you in the middle of it. Sometimes we ask God to use us to make us strong, to give us a purpose, but we don't realize that most purpose is born out of pain. Think about it. Moses had to flee Egypt and wander in the wilderness before he could lead his people. Joseph was betrayed, thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, and locked in prison. Then he stepped into his destiny. Even Jesus went through pain, marked, beaten, crucified, so that we could be saved. So what makes us think we'll fulfill our purpose without going through anything? That somehow we'll be powerful without ever being broken, that we'll have something meaningful to say without walking through some fire first. It doesn't work like that. The fire you're in right now is not there to destroy you, it's there to refine you. Just like gold has to go through intense heat before it shines, your soul has to go through pressure before it shines too. God uses pain to shape you, to teach you, to stretch you, and most of all, to prepare you for something greater than what you've known. And here's the beautiful thing. Your pain doesn't just build your strength, it builds your empathy, it opens your heart to others, it makes you more understanding, more patient, more kind. You start to see people differently because you know what it feels like to be in a dark place. You've been there. And now, you've got the light someone else needs. That's how God works. He takes what was meant to harm you and he flips it for your good. That heartbreak that almost broke you, one day you'll use that to comfort someone else. That loss that crushed you, you'll be the one to sit with somebody else in their grief. That financial struggle that embarrassed you, you'll teach somebody else how to bounce back. Pain gives you authority, real authority, not just to talk, but to connect, to heal, to inspire. Because you're not speaking theory, you're speaking truth you lived through. So don't hide your pain. Don't be ashamed of what you've been through. That pain is your power now. That pain is the proof that you made it. And it's the proof that God was with you every step of the way, even when you couldn't feel him. And if you're still in it, if the pain is still raw, just hold on. Keep trusting, because the same God who allowed the pain will use it. And not only will he bring you out of it, he'll make sure you come out stronger, wiser, and ready to bless somebody else. Your pain has a purpose, and when it's all said and done, you'll be able to say, that thing that almost broke me, it was the very thing God used to bless me. There's a lie that gets told way too often, and a lot of people believe it. The lie is this, that strong people never feel weak, that winners don't get tired, that successful people just glide through life like everything always works out. But let me break that down for you. Winners feel the same pain as everyone else. The difference is they don't quit. They fall down, they cry, they question themselves, but they get back up. They keep going. That's the key. That's what separates those who finish from those who don't. You got to understand something about this life. It will test you. You will be pushed to the edge, challenged in ways you didn't expect, and asked to keep going when everything in you wants to stop. That's not weakness. That's life. And pushing through those moments is where greatness is built. Sometimes you'll find yourself in the fire. Everything around you is shaking, and all you can think is, why is this happening to me? But the real question is, what is this building in me? Because pressure builds character. Resistance builds strength. Fire purifies. It burns away the fake, the comfortable, the easy. And what's left is something real, something strong, something ready for what's next. See, you don't learn how to win on the mountaintop. You learn how to win in the valley when you're tired, when you feel like no one believes in you, when you've got to encourage yourself, speak life to yourself. Pray when no one else is praying for you. That's where you learn how to endure. Some people look at champions and think they must be built different, but the truth is they just kept going when most people gave up. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's consistency. It's faith, it's grit, it's dragging yourself forward even when your heart's heavy and your hope is low. And let me tell you something, rest is okay. Rest is necessary. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to sit down and breathe. You're allowed to say, I'm not okay right now. But what you're not allowed to do is give up. Don't confuse being tired with being finished. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's over. If anything, the struggle is a sign that you're still in the fight, that you haven't backed down, that there's still something in you that refuses to settle. That's power. That's purpose. Because when you push through pain, you gain strength. When you walk through fire, you come out with resilience. You learn that you're stronger than you thought. And here's the truth. God never said the road would be easy, but he did say he would be with you every step of the way. And he didn't bring you this far to let you fall. He's not watching you struggle from a distance. He's walking with you through it, giving you what you need for each step. So don't quit. Don't you dare. You've come too far. You've already survived things you thought would break you. You've already climbed out of pits that tried to bury you. That wasn't by accident. That was grace. That was God showing you you're built for this. When you feel like giving up, remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself of the dream. Remind yourself of the promise. And even if you've got to crawl forward, crawl. Because motion is still progress, no matter how slow it looks. The world may not see what you're carrying, but God does. And he's going to honor your endurance. He's going to reward your faithfulness. One day you're going to look back and realize the fire didn't burn you. It built you. So keep going. You've got what it takes. You're not done yet, and the finish line is closer than it feels. Fear is loud. It doesn't whisper. It yells. It tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. It tells you you're too late, too old, too broken. And if you listen to fear long enough, you'll start believing those lies. But here's the truth. Faith is always louder than fear. You just have to tune in. Because where fear sees a dead end, faith sees a door. Where fear says you can't, faith says with God. Faith isn't just for Sunday mornings or when life is going well. Real faith shows up when everything's falling apart. When you're down to your last option, your last dollar, your last bit of strength. That's when faith becomes more than a word. That's when it becomes your foundation. You see, fear is rooted in what we can see. It comes from looking at the bank account, the medical report, the unanswered prayers. Fear feeds off the physical, but faith is rooted in what we can see. It's believing that God is working even when you don't see results. It's trusting that the seed is growing underground, even though the soil looks dry. Let me be real with you. Faith is not easy. It's not always pretty. Sometimes faith is crying your eyes out at night, but still getting up the next morning and saying, God, I trust you. Sometimes faith is walking into a room full of rejection and still believing favor is coming. Sometimes faith is doing what God told you to do even when it makes zero sense to anybody else. But that's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of faith that activates heaven. Because when you believe, really believe that God is who he says he is, something shifts in your spirit. You stop depending on what you can control and you start leaning on the one who's never lost a battle. But let's be honest, fear will always try to show up as part of life. It doesn't mean you're weak if you feel afraid, but what matters is what you do with that fear. Do you let it paralyze you, or do you bring it to God and say, Lord, I'm scared, but I'm still going? Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward in spite of it. Look at the people in the Bible. David was just a kid with a slingshot, but his faith in God gave him the courage to face a giant. Esther walked into a king's court knowing she could be killed, but her faith made her bold enough to save a nation. Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water, not because he had superpowers, but because his eyes were on Jesus, not on the storm. That's the secret. Keep your eyes on God. Not the problem, not the fear, not the noise, because what you focus on grows. Focus on fear and it'll control you. Focus on faith and it will carry you. You have to speak faith over yourself, especially when the enemy is speaking fear. Speak it even if your voice shakes. Say, I'm chosen. I'm covered. I'm capable. God is with me. I will not be defeated. Declare it out loud, because sometimes your spirit needs to hear it from your own mouth. And remember this, you're not walking through this life alone. The same God who opened the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised the dead, is the same God walking with you. He hasn't changed. He didn't fail them, and he won't fail you. So the next time fear tries to rise up louder. Let your faith speak. Let it roar. Let it remind you that the God in you is bigger than the fear around you. Because with God, even the impossible becomes possible. And when you stand on faith, you'll realize fear never had the final say. God does. There are moments in life when you feel completely alone, like nobody sees what you're going through, nobody understands the weight you're carrying, and the silence around you feels deafening. It's in those moments that people often start to wonder, where is God? And the enemy loves that. He loves to whisper, God forgot about you, or you're on your own now. But let me tell you something with my whole heart. God is always with you, even when it feels like he's not. He hasn't left you, not for 1 second. Just because you can't feel him doesn't mean he's absent. Just because you can't hear him doesn't mean he's not speaking. Sometimes his silence is not rejection, it's protection, it's preparation. It's a season where your faith is being stretched and your trust is being tested. Because faith isn't proven in comfort. Faith is proven when God seems quiet and you still choose to believe he's close. See, we want God to show up in fireworks and loud moments, but oftentimes he speaks in stillness, in the whisper, in the quiet reassurance that somehow you're going to make it through. And that's the truth. You are going to make it through. Not because of your strength, but because of his presence. Because he promised, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's not just poetry. That's a covenant, a divine guarantee. And what's beautiful is that God doesn't just walk with you in the light, he walks with you in the dark. When you're crying in your car, when you're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering how everything went wrong, when you're surrounded by people but still feel completely invisible, he's there. And not just observing, not just watching from a distance, he's in it with you, holding you up when you don't have the strength to stand, giving you peace that doesn't make sense, pouring grace into you for just one more day. Let's be real. People will leave. They'll promise forever and still walk away. Friends will change. Family might disappoint you. Life will let you down. But God never will. He is the one constant in a world full of variables, the one light that never dims even in your darkest hour. And here's something you need to hear. Your value does decrease just because your situation looks messy. God still calls you chosen. He still calls you his. He still has plans for you not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. He hasn't changed his mind about you just because you're struggling. In fact, he draws even closer when you're broken. The Bible says he is close to the brokenhearted. That means your pain is not pushing him away, it's pulling him near. You don't have to have it all together to be in his presence. You don't have to be strong all the time. God is not looking for your perfection. He's looking for your surrender, your honesty, your heart. Sometimes you just have to say, God, I don't understand. I don't feel you right now, but I'm trusting you anyway. That kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of raw, real, honest faith is what builds an unshakable relationship with God, because it's not based on emotion, it's based on truth. And the truth is, he will never fail you. So when the storm rages and the night feels long, remember, you're not alone. You've never been alone. Even in your silence, even in your questions, even in your fear, God is walking right beside you, and he's not going anywhere. Lean into him. Cry out if you have to. Be still if you need to. But whatever you do, don't let go, because his love doesn't quit, his presence doesn't fade, and his promise remains true. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. That's not a maybe. That's a forever. And forever means even now, even here, even in this.